Anxiety doesn't knock, it invades, it slips in through the cracks of overthinking, multiplies in the silence of avoidance, and builds its fortress in the space where your power ends. You don't defeat it by pretending it's not there. You dissolve it by returning to clarity, to presence, to action. Marcus Aurelius didn't call anxiety an enemy. He saw it as a signal, a sign that the mind had drifted from what's in your hands to what's outside your reach. And in today's world of constant alerts, opinions, and comparisons, it's easy to forget where your true strength lies, not in reacting to everything, but in responding to what actually matters. That's what the Stoics mastered, not how to avoid discomfort, but how to move through it with clarity and composure. This isn't positive thinking, this is war. A war against chaos, fought quietly in your mind through discipline, breath, and reason. In this video, we'll walk through 8 timeless Stoic disciplines that silence anxiety, not with denial, but with power. The goal isn't to erase fear, it's to become so anchored that fear loses its grip. Welcome to Stoic Philosophy Daily, where your story matters. Share below. What does anxiety steal from you? We read every comment, we respond with care, and we treat your fight like our own. This isn't just a channel, it's a circle of strength. Now take a breath. Ground yourself. Let's begin. 1. Anxiety begins where focus ends. Anxiety doesn't start with chaos. It begins with where you place your attention. Picture your mind like a flashlight. Wherever it shines, it energizes. Shine it on uncertainty, imagined futures, and outcomes beyond your control. And what grows is fear. What sharpens is anxiety. It begins quietly, a drifting thought, a what if, a flicker of doubt. You think you're just being cautious, but your brain doesn't stop there. It builds a narrative. One thing turns into 5. One doubt spirals into a dozen imagined disasters. That's how anxiety is born, from a single shift in focus, left unexamined. The Stoics saw this clearly. To them, anxiety wasn't weakness. It was a signal, a flare shot up by the mind when reason has been replaced by assumption, speculation, and fear. Epictetus said it best. What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things. It's not the world that overwhelms you. It's the story your mind writes about the world. That story is often exaggerated, distorted, or disconnected from what's real. You start treating assumptions like facts, fears like forecasts. A small worry becomes a monster when fed with attention and inaction. Think of it like fog on a windshield. A single spot of unclear vision isn't the problem until you keep driving through it without wiping it clean. Anxiety clouds your perception in the same way. You try to navigate life based on what you fear, not what you know. And suddenly you're not responding to life. You're reacting to the version of it that your fear created. And in that gap between what is and what might be, anxiety thrives. It feeds on inaction. It grows where structure is missing. That's why the Stoic returns to now, to clarify, to action. Because once you act, clean the room, write the message, go for the walk, the mind regains form. Energy shifts from spinning to directing, from doubt to discipline. Try this. Begin tracking what triggers your anxiety. What thoughts, what moments, what imagined outcomes. Don't judge them. Just label them. Create a space between thought and reaction. That's where clarity lives, and that's where you begin to regain power. Stoics don't chase control over everything. They anchor their focus in the one thing they can control: attention. Train your attention, and you start to shrink anxiety. One breath, one moment, one act at a time. 2. Precision over panic. Anxiety thrives in the blur, where your mind tries to control what it can't and ignores what it can. The The Stoics clearly stated this through the principle known as the dichotomy of control. It's simple, but brutal. There are only two zones in life: what's within your power and what isn't. Every emotional storm begins when you try to live in the wrong zone. Think of it like walking through a house during a storm. You can close your own windows, you can lock your door, but you can't stop the wind outside. Trying to manage both drains you. It's not your job to control the sky, it's your job to reinforce the roof. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That wasn't comfort. It was a command. When anxiety rises, it's usually because your attention is leaking into outcomes, opinions, timelines, and things far beyond your reach. You start grasping at fog. But the disciplined mind doesn't learn. It sorts. Your thoughts, actions, and values are yours. The reactions of others, the outcome of plans. The future, not yours. Every time you feel overwhelmed, ask, where is my control in this? If it's within you, act. If it's outside you, release. That's not avoidance, that's precision. You're cutting emotional weight you were never meant to carry. Try this. Set aside 10 quiet minutes each evening. Write down what made you anxious today. Be honest, no filters. Then, next to each worry, ask, was this within my control? Label each one. Then track your reactions. Did you act where you could? Or try to force what wasn't yours to fix? Over time, patterns will surface. You'll see the same fears on repeat about reputation, the future, judgment, and outcomes. Group them, name the categories, then draw the line. What's yours and what's noise? This isn't just a reflection, it's mental weightlifting. Each time you sort signal from noise, you reclaim energy, you restore calm, you reinforce the habit of attention that protects your inner peace. This is how Stoics drew a boundary, not with walls, but with clarity. At Stoic Daily, we believe control isn't about power over the world. It's about clarity within yourself. Comment below. What's one thing you'll stop trying to control this week? 3. Return to the moment. Fear lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. But your power, it lives in this moment. The anxious mind drifts, always chasing what hasn't happened or replaying what can't be changed. And the more you drift, the more anxiety grows. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That's because anxiety plays like a film loop in your head. Scenes of failure, judgment, loss, none of them real, all of them vivid. You don't escape the loop by running. You escape it by returning to your breath, your senses, your task. Presence is not passive. It's a disciplined return to now. When your hands are building something, when your breath is steady, when your eyes are fully seeing, there's no space left for the mind to spiral. The anxious mind builds castles of fear in the clouds. The Stoic mind plants its feet on the ground. Try this. Next time you feel the spin begin, pause. Name one thing you see, one thing you hear, one thing you can touch. This anchors you. Or stand up, place both feet on the floor, breathe in slowly, and count to 4. Let your breath interrupt your thought. If you're walking, match your steps to your breath. If you're speaking, pause before you respond. Each pause is a reset. Each breath is a return. And when you begin a task, any task, do it fully, not quickly, not half-present. Close the other tabs. Turn the phone over. Bring your full attention to something as simple as tying your shoes or wiping down a table. This isn't about performance. It's about rewiring your nervous system to feel safe in stillness. Scattered focus trains the body to be on high alert. But when you give one task your full focus, your breath slows, your posture shifts, your system calms. That is the nervous system learning safety. That is the Stoic discipline. You don't need to change your life. You need to change how you show up to it. At Stoic Daily, we believe presence is not just awareness. It's a choice to take back your attention, one moment at a time. Try it for 1 hour today. Comment below. What's one moment you'll give your full presence to? 4. Integrity over approval. An anxious mind is often a mind trying to please. You scan faces, weigh words, shrink yourself to fit expectations that were never yours to begin with. And in that shrinking, your peace dissolves. The Stoics knew this trap well. Marcus Aurelius said, "The approval of such men who do not even stand well in their own eyes has no value for me." Think about that. Most people are not grounded. Their judgments shift with their moods. Basing your worth on their opinions is like building a house on sand. When your compass points to reputation, you live in fear. When it points to integrity, you begin to steady. Peace doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. So ask yourself, is this action coming from my values or from my fear of being misunderstood? That one question pulls you back to yourself. Try this. Each morning, choose one virtue: honesty, patience, courage. Carry it with you like armor. Let it shape your responses, your tone, your posture. At the end of the day, ask, did I honor that value or betray it? This daily check-in reclaims energy wasted on seeking approval. And when discomfort arises, because yes, choosing principle over praise will feel lonely at times, remind yourself. Comfort is temporary, character is permanent. The more you act in alignment with your core, the less you need others to clap for you, because you already know you showed up with truth. Approval-seeking hides in the smallest corners. The way you soften emails, dodge confrontation, and add one more sentence to avoid silence. Begin noticing. Track the pattern. Each time you replace performance with principle, your nervous system relaxes. Your sense of self returns. At Stoic Daily, we believe your self-respect is the only approval that lasts. Share below. What's one place in your life where you'll choose integrity over image this week? 5. Rewire the voice within. Before the body panics, the voice in your head whispers it. That whisper, rushed, vague, critical, is the seed of anxiety. You don't spiral from facts, you spiral from the stories you tell yourself when fear walks in. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for fear to speak. He spoke first. His journal wasn't for show, it was a daily drill. You have power over your mind, he reminded himself, not just by thinking differently, but by speaking to himself with precision, not with hope, with order. Your inner voice is not just background noise, it's architecture. It builds the mental house you live in. If it's cracked with doubt and urgency, your nervous system will reflect that tension. But if it's structured, clear, calm, and direct, it becomes a shield. Discipline isn't just about action, it's in the dialogue no one hears. Try this. Catch a moment of anxiety. Write down exactly what your mind is saying. Don't edit, then challenge it. Is it true? Is it useful? Does it move you forward? Reframe the thought into a command grounded in responsibility. Not, this might go wrong, but I'll prepare and adapt. Not, I can't do this, but I'll meet this moment with what I have. This isn't self-help fluff. It's redirecting a mental avalanche before it begins. Think of it like resetting a compass before you're lost in the woods. The earlier you speak clarity into your mind, the less room there is for chaos to grow. Your body listens. If your thoughts are scattered, your breath shortens, shoulders tense. But when your words are steady, your breath deepens, posture straightens. You return to the center. The nervous system follows your narrative. Anchor this habit with 2 daily prompts. Each morning, write one sentence of intention, short, grounded, specific. Each evening, write one sentence of reflection. Focus not on results, but on how you guided your attention under pressure. This rhythm rewires not just thought, but identity. Over time, fear becomes a signal, not a dictator. Doubt becomes a challenge, not a verdict. And your internal voice stops being a critic and starts becoming your quiet commander. At Stoic Daily, we believe mastery starts in the words you whisper to yourself. Share below. What phrase do you want your inner voice to repeat when pressure rises? 6. Roles over rumination. Most people don't realize this, but one of the biggest roots of anxiety is identity drift. You wake up and forget what you're here to do. You scroll, you react, you bounce from task to task without an anchor, and your nervous system feels it, because your life has motion, but no meaning. The Stoics lived differently. They didn't begin their day asking what they felt like doing. They asked, what role do I serve, and how do I fulfill it with excellence? Whether as a leader, a parent, a student, or a friend, they didn't chase everything. They showed up for what was theirs. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you were born to do the work of a human being. That meant acting with reason, facing difficulty with integrity, and refusing to let ego or distraction sabotage duty. Roles weren't burdens. They were boundaries, clear containers that focus attention and filter out chaos. Try this. Write down 3 roles you hold right now, not just titles, real commitments. Then ask, what does it look like to show up fully for each of them today? As a parent, is it patience in the face of chaos? As a teammate, is it about speaking honestly, not just harmony? As a student of life, is it showing discipline in small moments, even when no one's watching? The anxious mind drifts. The disciplined mind returns. And roles help you return. They give your energy a direction, so you're not circling endless possibilities, wondering if you're doing enough. When you know what's yours, you stop trying to be everything and start being excellent at what's essential. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being present with purpose. Each task, washing the dishes, answering an email, helping someone in silence, becomes an act of alignment. The more you live like this, the more your day feels complete. Not because you did everything, but because you did what mattered most. At Stoic Daily, we believe clarity of role builds clarity of mind. Share below. What's one role you've been neglecting, and what will you do differently today to show up for it? 7. Let time reflect your identity. A scattered schedule creates a scattered self. Most people don't realize their calendar is not just a list of tasks. It's a mirror of their values. You say you want peace, purpose, and clarity, but does your day reflect that? Or are you just reacting from one thing to the next, pulled by other people's demands and digital distractions? The Stoics didn't wait for ideal conditions to find structure. They built it. Seneca warned us, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Anxiety often begins where structure ends. Without a plan, your mind drifts. Tasks blur, pressure builds. You feel busy but unfulfilled. The Stoic doesn't let the day shape them. They shape the day. They treat time as a discipline, and their calendar becomes a philosophy in motion. Here's how that looks in practice. Begin your morning by anchoring your attention. No phone. No input. Sit. Read a few lines of Stoic wisdom. Write one value or intention for the day. Then define your top 3 priorities linked to your actual roles, not just your inbox. Assign each task a clear time block and protect that block like your peace depends on it, because it does. When the block ends, step away. Breathe. Stretch. Let your nervous system reset before diving into the next. These tiny pauses restore rhythm. Before bed, take 5 minutes to reflect. Where did your focus hold? Where did it drift? This isn't about perfection, it's about pattern recognition. Over time, your attention becomes trained. Your day begins to carry design, and design builds inner stillness. This shift isn't just tactical, it's psychological. You go from chasing urgency to embodying intent, from being pulled by the world to being moved by purpose. That alignment doesn't just reduce anxiety, it builds quiet confidence. You're no longer just surviving the day, you're shaping it. Powerline. A cluttered calendar leads to confusion, but a well-shaped hour cuts through chaos like a blade. At Stoic Daily, we believe time is the architecture of self-respect. Shape it with care and share in the comments. What's one way you'll reclaim your schedule this week? 8. Install stillness. A calm mind is not a personality trait. It is a trained condition. If you never create space, your mind fills the gaps with noise, unfinished thoughts, and imagined problems. Anxiety is what grows in a life with no pause button. The Stoics understood this deeply. Stillness was not an escape. It was maintenance. Just as the body needs sleep, the mind needs silence. Without it, you don't think. You react. Your day becomes one long chain of stimulus and response, and eventually, your system burns out. Stillness is where control returns. When you pause, even briefly, you create a gap between what happens and how you respond. In that gap, reason steps back in. Without that gap, emotion drives. With it, you choose. Try this in real time. Before opening your inbox, take 3 slow breaths. Before answering a difficult message, pause for 5 seconds. During a walk, leave your phone behind and let your senses re-engage. These are not breaks from life. They are reset points inside life. Small, pockets of quiet that drain the pressure before it becomes tension. Your nervous system follows your attention. When your day is non-stop motion, your body stays in alert mode. Heart rate elevated, breathe shallow, thoughts looping. But a few minutes of deliberate stillness shifts the state. Breathing deepens, muscles release, thoughts slow enough to observe instead of obey. This is how you prevent emotional residue from stacking. Without stillness, each task leaves a trace. Each conversation leaves a charge. By evening, your mind is cluttered with unfinished internal noise. Stillness clears the residue before it hardens into stress. You do not need an hour on a mountain. 5 minutes done daily is more powerful than rare escapes. Sit, breathe, let thoughts pass without chasing them. You are not trying to empty the mind. You are training it to stop gripping every thought that appears. Over time, stillness becomes a baseline, not an event. You carry calm into meetings, conversations, and decisions. You respond rather than react because your system is not overloaded. You remain available, not drained. At Stoic Daily, we believe stillness is daily mental maintenance. Comment below, where can you insert one moment of deliberate silence into your day, starting today? Calm is built, not found. You don't need to escape the world to find peace. You need to build a mind that doesn't collapse when the world presses in. True stillness isn't silence, it's structure. It's the internal alignment that holds, even when the outside falls apart. That's what the Stoics practiced. A mind trained to hold its shape in storms. A life that runs on clarity, not chaos. Marcus Aurelius didn't retreat from duty. He stayed rooted in philosophy while facing an empire's collapse. That kind of discipline doesn't come from luck. It's built through practice, through pause, through presence. And so are you. One moment at a time. You're not trying to erase anxiety. You're learning to shrink it, to limit its reach, and to choose your response instead of being dragged. This entire journey wasn't just about philosophy, it was about practice. 8 steps, 8 ways to reclaim your mind from noise, hurry, and fear. Now, it's your move. What will you implement today? Drop it in the comments. One idea, one shift, one commitment. Your small action might inspire someone else to take theirs. At Stoic Philosophy Daily, we believe strength isn't the absence of storms. It's the stillness you carry through them.
If you're seeking more, discover the full path on my channel.
Stoic Philosophy Daily.